What is Passive House? Passive House. You've heard of it. You probably have a vague notion of what it might be, but maybe you're not all that sure either. So in this short video, I'll try to clarify the meaning of this term for you. Welcome. I'm Ken Levinson, the Executive Director of the North American Passive House Network, a national nonprofit organization that educates and builds peer-to-peer knowledge-sharing networks across the US. We connect global knowledge, regional contexts, and the needs of local applications. We connect people across the US and around the world. Let's begin. The term passive house can describe four basic things. First, a construction concept called passive house. Second, a building standard that emerged from the passive house construction concept, the passive house standard. And third, the design and construction methodology to actually achieve the passive house standard, the passive house methodology. And finally, a building, any type of building that meets the passive house standard, simply a passive house building. But yeah, sure. What does all this mean, you might ask? So we'll try to unpack it a bit here, hopefully without burdening you with information overload. Let's start with the concept, because passive house is an integrated construction concept, a discovery that resulted in the alignment of health, comfort, and efficiency efforts born out of decades of research around the globe, and in particular, an international research project in 1990 led by Dr. Wolfgang Feist. Out of the 1990 experiment, the passive house concept was distilled into a definition, a functional definition. We could call it a platonic or idealized definition, perhaps, and here it is. A passive house is a building for which thermal comfort can be achieved solely by post-heating or post-cooling of the fresh air mass, which is required to achieve sufficient indoor air quality conditions without the need for additional recirculation of air. It's fascinating, isn't it? It's one sentence, and in this one sentence, it places at the core the occupant and hygienic ventilation, the importance of good indoor air quality. Ventilation is used as an organizational pivot point that reorients the project. It puts the occupant at the center of the equation, their comfort and health, while simultaneously requiring a very low capacity for heating and cooling energy to achieve it. The goals of comfort and health are now supported by energy efficiency, and the goal of energy efficiency is supported by the goals of health and comfort. They become interdependent and upend our conventional wisdom. We should pause and appreciate this radical notion. Conventional wisdom holds efficiency as a sacrifice. Turn down the thermostat, put on a sweater indoors. I remember in the cold Vermont winters of my youth, our family squeezing into a portion of the house and letting the rest freeze to save money. Ah, the good old days. This direct correlation between power and comfort and health runs deep in our society. Conventional wisdom has held that ever more power is needed, and whether it be derived from fossil fuels or renewables, the focus has always been on production, production, production. We see it today with the call for zero energy buildings as the goal, letting us build more pretty crappy buildings and just producing more power to compensate. It's not unlike our health industry, where we spend enormous sums on treating symptoms because we can't be bothered to move upstream to the root causes of our poor health. The passive house concept upends this focus on ever more production, on treating the symptoms. Passive house moves upstream to the root causes and decouples power from performance. From this discovery and formulation of the passive house concept, the Passive House Institute, or PHI for short, developed the Passive House Standard, our next iteration of the term. The Passive House Standard is rigorous and focused and includes specific certification targets or criteria with metrics that include comfort, health, and energy to deliver high quality. These are not relative targets set to a baseline that can be gamed, but hard targets that leave you knowing where you stand. Today, the targets include increasing levels of renewable energy integration and ever greater efficiencies, supporting electrification and a resilient green grid. They are buildings built to be future-proof. The power and reach of the Passive House standard is its inherent simplicity and flexibility. The Passive House standard is being successfully applied to thousands of buildings and millions of square feet around the world, from Boston to Beijing. So next is the methodology. Passive House, as a term, also relates to the methodology we utilize to achieve the Passive House standard. The Passive House methodology starts with reducing cooling, dehumidification, and heating loads by focusing first not on gadgets and active technology, but instead on fully integrated, durable, passive building components, the architecture itself, focusing on things like proper continuous thermal bridge-free insulation, continuous air tightness, high-performance windows and doors with solar protection, and balanced 100% fresh air ventilation that includes a high-efficiency passive heat or energy recovery core. These aspects and more are all carefully calculated and all integrated with the entire architectural process of design and construction from day one of the project's conception. Essential to the success of the methodology is the ability to reliably calculate the performance characteristics before the building is built. So at the core of the methodology is the Passive House Planning Package, or PHPP, energy model. The PHPP is an Excel-based tool which allows the designer to simulate the behavior of the building both during peak times in winter and summer and over an entire year. It is a flexible, easy-to-use model that allows for quick iterations and design alternate evaluations, taking into account different real-world assumptions and possible future scenarios. So finally, of course, we have the term Passive House describing a building built using the Passive House methodology and meeting the criteria of the Passive House standard. Today, we see a wonderful variety of Passive House buildings meeting the standard. And it's important to emphasize that Passive House is applicable to buildings of all kinds, from office buildings to hospitals to factories to apartment houses, schools, and retail stores, and yes, even single-family homes. And all of these use types have been realized successfully. Any type of use and building typology is possible. Passive House can be applied not just to new buildings, but also to renovations of existing buildings. But let's be clear, to call a building a Passive House building, you're not required to certify it. It just needs to meet the criteria. The building meets the Passive House standard criteria, and you can call it a Passive House building. However, unless you're a very experienced practitioner with many certified buildings under your belt, you likely simply don't know what you don't know. So chances are that without certification, you will fall short of expectations. Needless to say, this causes some tension in the marketplace. So let's briefly address it. Buyer beware. If the building you're investing in isn't certified to the Passive House standard, there's a greater chance its performance will not meet your expectations. You better ask some serious questions. Has the team completed a series of certified buildings before? Do they know what they don't know? Is the team really invested in producing Passive House high quality, or is it their newly discovered marketing gimmick? Certification of the Passive House building to the Passive House standard ensures that owner expectations of high quality and performance are met. There are 12 independent Passive House certifiers working in the US today, ready to help you achieve it. To find them, visit our website, naphnetwork.org. You will be well served to do your research. I'm going to conclude by saying that the term Passive House is better understood not as another incremental step toward higher performance, but as a different way to think and work. It's a different attitude, a re-engagement with the fundamentals of buildings, the materials, the components, the systems, and the integration of them all, creating an architectural structure in which the structure itself produces a dramatically reduced energy balance. The structure itself is the driving force of occupant health, comfort, and efficiency, of affordability, and of resilience. In our race to drastically reduce carbon emissions, Passive House jumps to the end game. I encourage you to seize the power of Passive House. I hope you found this short talk interesting and encourage you to view our 1-hour online an introduction to Passive House, our one-day introduction to Passive House standards, become a member of NAPHN, and even sign up for our core online certified Passive House designer course. Thank you for joining me. Be well.